Welcome back to Old Fresh Coins World, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today we are taking a close look at a fascinating piece of American history, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny 1-cent coin with no mint mark. At first glance, this little copper-colored coin may look like an ordinary old penny, especially if it has been sitting in a collection, a drawer, an old jar, or a box of inherited coins for decades. But the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny has an important historical story, because it was produced during the final year of World War II. The big question for collectors is not simply whether a 1945 penny is old, but what condition it is in, whether it has unusual characteristics, and whether it contains an error or variety that could make it more desirable. So before you spend or discard an old 1945 wheat penny, take a moment to examine it carefully and understand what you actually have. Let's get started. The Lincoln Wheat Cent was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It became one of the most recognizable American coins of the 20th century. The obverse features the famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, while the reverse displays two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat design remained on the cent until 1958, making the series especially popular among collectors today. The 1945 issue is particularly interesting because it belongs to the wartime period of American coin production. By the time this coin entered circulation, the United States was approaching the end of World War II, giving the 1945 cent a direct connection to one of the most important periods in American history. One of the first things collectors notice about this particular coin is the absence of a mint mark. A 1945 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This is completely normal and does not mean the coin is missing a letter or that it automatically represents an error. In 1945, Philadelphia produced more than 1 billion Lincoln cents, while Denver and San Francisco placed their respective D and S mint marks on their coins. NGC lists the Philadelphia 1945 cents mintage at 1,040,515,000 pieces. Therefore, a normal 1945 Philadelphia cent is not rare simply because there is no mint mark. However, collectors still carefully examine these coins because condition, unusual die characteristics, and genuine mint errors can dramatically change collectability and value. The year 1945 gives this penny extraordinary historical atmosphere. American factories, workers, soldiers, and industries were still heavily connected to the war effort. The U.S. Mint had already experienced major changes in cent production because copper and other metals were strategically important during the war. In 1943, the Mint famously produced zinc-coated steel cents instead of the traditional bronze composition. By 1944, the Mint returned to a copper-based alloy, and some of the metal came from recovered brass cartridge cases. The 1945 cents continued this wartime-era composition. NGC describes the 1945 issue as the second year of this shell-case cent production, with tin omitted from the alloy. That means the coin in your hand is not merely an old penny. It is a surviving piece from the closing chapter of wartime American coinage. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a small coin, but its specifications help identify an authentic example. NGC lists the Philadelphia 1945 cent at approximately 19 millimeters in diameter and 3.11 grams in weight, with a plain edge. The obverse shows Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date 1945. On the reverse, the two wheat ears frame the denomination and country name. These details are important because collectors should always verify the date, design, weight, diameter, and general appearance before assigning unusual value to a coin. A coin that looks different can be interesting, but unusual appearance alone does not prove that it is rare or valuable. Now, let's talk about the condition mentioned in today's video. Fine condition. In coin grading, fine generally indicates a coin that has experienced noticeable circulation wear but still retains substantial design detail. On a 1945 wheat penny in fine condition, Lincoln's portrait should remain clearly recognizable, although many of the finer details will have softened from years of handling. The wheat stalks on the reverse will also show wear, but the major lettering and central design should remain visible. This is important because coin value is strongly influenced by grade. Two coins with exactly the same date and mint mark can have dramatically different market values if one is heavily worn and the other is an exceptionally preserved mint state example. The official face value of this coin is, of course, 1 cent or $0.01. That is the denomination originally assigned to it by the United States government. But collector value is a completely different concept. A coin can have a face value of 1 cent while being worth more than 1 cent to collectors. For a normal circulated 1945 Philadelphia wheat penny in fine condition, however, you should not automatically expect hundreds, thousands, or millions of dollars. Current price references show ordinary circulated examples generally trade at modest premiums, while substantially higher prices are associated with superior grades or exceptional examples. The lesson is simple. Old does not automatically mean rare, and a realistic valuation requires looking at condition and specific characteristics. So, what might a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark be worth today? The answer depends heavily on condition, color, eye appeal, certification, and whether the coin has a recognized error or variety. NGC's current guide data for the 1945 Philadelphia cent shows relatively modest values for ordinary circulated grades, while prices increase as the coin reaches higher mint state grades. Another market database currently shows substantially higher figures for stronger grades, illustrating how dramatically condition can influence selling prices. For a typical fine condition, no mint mark example, think in terms of a small premium over face value rather than a guaranteed fortune. Exact prices can change with the marketplace, buyer demand, grading, and the individual coin's appearance. Here is where the story becomes much more exciting. Although more than 1 billion Philadelphia cents were struck in 1945, truly exceptional coins can still attract collectors. The important distinction is between mintage rarity and condition rarity. A coin can have a huge original mintage and still become valuable when only a small number survive with extraordinary surfaces, strong original color, sharp details, and exceptional certification grades. For example, PCGS records a 1945 Philadelphia Lincoln cent graded MS67 plus red that sold for $3,120 in 2018 at a Stack's Bowers auction. This does not mean a normal fine condition penny is worth thousands of dollars. Instead, it demonstrates how exceptional preservation can transform the market value of a common date coin. If you have a 1945 no mint mark penny, examine it under good lighting. Start with the date and confirm that the final digit is really a 5. Next, check beneath the date for the absence of a mint mark. Then inspect Lincoln's portrait, especially the hair, cheek, jaw, coat, and surrounding lettering. Turn the coin over and study the wheat stalks, lettering, denomination, and overall surface. Look for unusual doubling, cracks, die breaks, missing details, strange shapes, or other characteristics that appear to be part of the striking process rather than damage caused after the coin left the mint. NGC notes that no major varieties are generally recognized for the 1945 Philadelphia issue, although various die breaks and cud-like characteristics can be encountered. A genuine mint error can make an otherwise ordinary coin much more interesting. Another factor collectors pay attention to is the coin's color and surface preservation. Copper-based cents can change appearance over many decades because of exposure to air, moisture, chemicals, and handling. A coin may appear brown, reddish-brown, or retain more original red coloration depending on its preservation. On an ordinary fine-condition coin, circulation marks and color changes are expected. However, collectors pursuing high-grade examples often pay significant attention to original luster, surface quality, and attractive color. This is why two 1945 pennies that look similar from a distance can have very different values after professional examination. Remember that cleaning can seriously affect collector appeal. If you believe you have a valuable old coin, avoid polishing or chemically cleaning it simply to make it look brighter. There is another important warning for collectors. The 1945 Lincoln cent should not be confused with the famous 1943 bronze cent or other famous wartime errors. The 1943 cents were supposed to be zinc-coated steel, while the mint returned to copper-based cents in 1944. Genuine wrong metal examples from this era are extremely important numismatic discoveries. But a normal 1945 copper alloy cent is not automatically an error. Similarly, a missing mint mark on a 1945 Philadelphia cent is normal. This is one reason responsible coin collecting requires research rather than relying only on dramatic claims about million-dollar pennies. The most exciting discoveries are those supported by genuine physical evidence. Recognized varieties, reputable auction records, and professional authentication. If you discover a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, take several careful steps before deciding what it is worth. First, preserve the coin in its existing condition. Second, identify the date and mint mark status. Third, estimate the grade honestly, fine, very fine, extremely fine about uncirculated or mint state. Fourth, inspect the coin for possible errors or unusual die characteristics. Fifth, compare it with reputable price guides and actual completed sales rather than relying on unsold advertisements. If the coin appears unusually valuable or has a suspected major error, professional authentication and grading can be worthwhile. A certified grade from a respected third-party grading service can give buyers and sellers more confidence. Particularly for higher value examples, the greatest lesson from the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny is that value is not created by age alone. This coin is more than 80 years old, but its large Philadelphia mintage means ordinary examples remain available. NGC specifically describes the 1945 Philadelphia issue as having an enormous mintage and notes that examples can be found in high grades as well. Yet exceptional pieces can still command impressive prices because collectors compete for coins with extraordinary preservation. So if your 1945 penny is in fine condition, enjoy it as a historic World War II era coin. But do not assume that the phrase 1945 no mint mark automatically means a fortune. Its real potential comes from the combination of condition, originality, unusual characteristics, and verified market demand, and there you have it. The story of the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, a 1-cent American coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint during the final year of World War II. With a reported Philadelphia mintage of 1,040,515,000 pieces, it is not inherently rare simply because it lacks a mint mark. Its official face value remains $0.01. While collector value can range from a modest premium for circulated examples to much higher prices for exceptional high-grade specimens and genuine errors. Most importantly, never judge an old penny only by its age or by a sensational price claim. Examine the date, mint mark, condition, surfaces, color, and possible errors. If you enjoy searching old coins, keep checking your collections, because every wheat penny carries a piece of American history. And sometimes, careful examination can reveal something truly special. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more rare coin discoveries, fascinating American history, and real-world coin values. Thanks for watching.